Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so wonderful to be back here on the Bima, and I had a little experience exactly 2 minutes ago that told me it was time to be back. It was time to celebrate Shabbat. My phone, which is in the back room, started playing without anybody touching it, and I knew this because it popped up on my phone, or on my watch, Erev Shel Shoshanim from the Camp Swig record from like 79. So I think that there was divine intervention,
A
Michael.
bat kol.
Exactly, a bat kol, a divine voice saying it is time to welcome in Shabbat. And so we begin tonight with a nigun, a song without words, a song that is simply meant to come from the heart. And so the words should not be unfamiliar to you because the words are simply lie, la, lie, la, lie, or is this a hum, diddy, dum, dum?
This is an Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Oh, okay, so there are some words. But Michael will do the heavy lifting if you don't know
You can do
the
the
words.
da-da-da-da-da-da.
Can you teach us that?
Yeah, you got that? Da-da-da-da-da-da. I didn't hear you. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, you're a choir already.
So we begin tonight with a prayer for a better world, a world that is built from love, from compassion, and from justice. And we pray that God will hear this prayer.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. I will build this world from love. And you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Before we welcome in the Sabbath Queen, let's take a moment to welcome each other, which means having to get up and not welcome the people you walked in with tonight or people you knew when you walked in tonight, but don't be shy to introduce yourself to someone you don't know. And maybe you do know them, but with the Mass, it's hard to tell, so don't be afraid of just wishing each other a Shabbat Shalom. And for those of you joining us online, feel free to introduce yourselves to each other as well. So it means you have to get up and say hello. It is so wonderful to see all of you getting to know each other. We'll have another opportunity after services at the wonderful oneg that is awaiting us. But the Sabbath Queen wants to come into an air-conditioned room, and she is waiting anxiously at the door. And so we welcome in the Sabbath Queen with Lecha Dodi on page 138, and we'll be excuse me, page 138, and we'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zechor v'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el gam yuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. L'shem el tiferet v'liti la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mikor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava, techila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Hit oreri, kiva ore, kumi ori, uri, shir daberi. Kavod Adonai ayalik nigla la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam v'simcha uv'tzohola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
It is always a joyous thing when we have a young adult in our midst who is ready to take their place amongst the Jewish people as an adult. And so it is with great joy that I invite Tallulah to come and join us on the bima, along with her parents, Lisa and Marty, and her siblings, Jameson and Julia, to do us the honor of lighting the Shabbat candles. Don't be shy. We continue first with Shalom Aleichem on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzavanu lehelak ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
As
The Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Amen.
Group hug. Group hug. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom. Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Say Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We rise for the Baruch Hu, which could be found on page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Amvorach. Baruch Adonai Amvorach Leolam Vaed.
We continue together on page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. We continue together on page 150.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah tu mitzvot Chukim umishpatim Otanu limadata Otanu limadata Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu uvkumenu nasiach bekukecha v'nizmach b'divrei toratecha umitzvotecha leolam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'ore yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla nege yomam v'layla ve'ahavacha al tasir ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. אוהב עמו ישראל. אמן. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו, לעולם ועד.
We continue together with the Ve'ahavta on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Please join me on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands and marching together. Page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילו עושה פלא, נורא תהילו עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד די 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 ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
So as we sing the Hashkivenu, beginning on page 160, let's take a moment to think about the people in our world who can use our help. With this prayer, we're supposed to ask God each and every night to protect us as we lay down to sleep. But let's not forget all those people who have no place safe to lay their heads down tonight. People who are seeking shelter and peace, a sense of safety, either within themselves or around themselves. And let's ask ourselves, how, even as we ask God for help, can we help those who are all around us? Page 160.
Oh, guide my steps. Help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Help me make this day a song of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Ufros aleinu sukkah shlomecha ufros aleinu sukkah shlomecha. Rock me in your arms and guide my step.
It's now my pleasure to invite up all of our B'nai Mitzvah students who are here. Oh, I see you. You cannot hide. To come and join us on the Bima and to help us, help lead us in the Vishamru and the Tefillah. So I'll come to you if you don't come to me. And I have a microphone that I could bring with me. Trust me, it's so much less embarrassing to come on up.
It's like a club, too.
So we continue on page 162.
welcome.
You guys, some of you should feel free to come on this side.
Spread out. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום, that's not the verse name. Beni uven, b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et ha-shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Please rise for the tefillah on page 164.
Adonai sefatai tifta ufi yagit ilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah El Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagin Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Rav Lehoshia Mori Atal Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Zomeh Noflim Verofe Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayeh Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Meimi Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua Bene'emanata Lechayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh Ukdoshim b'kol yom Yehalu Chasela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue praying privately from page 172 through 180, either standing or sitting, as is your custom.
Nasi shalom tova uveracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Nasi shalom tova uveracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Let the light of your presence be the light of our lives. Grant us happiness, mercy, and peace. May the people of Israel join hands with the world, and our passion for justice increase. Nasi shalom tova uveracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Nasi shalom tova uveracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Let the light of your Torah be the light of our dreams. Grant us goodness and blessings and love. May our yearning for peace be a blessing for the world as the olive branch soars with the dove. Nasi shalom tova uveracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Nasi shalom tova uveracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim.
Our hearts and our prayers now turn towards loved ones who are in need of healing, either healing of body or healing of spirit. As we pray for the ones that we love, let's remember that praying is good, but it's just a start. It's nothing if it's not followed up by action. So if there's people you know who are feeling lonely, who are recovering from surgery, who are in need of some kindness and compassion, please take the time between this Shabbat and next to reach out to them, to be there for the people who need us the most at a time when they feel alone or vulnerable. We turn together to page 371.
Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak veYaakov. Mishaberach Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Verachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mishaberach Avotenu, Mishaberach Imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer and bless us as well. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer. Hear our prayer and bless us as well.
Out of here real quick. I said, you went and took a break real quick. Julie usually lingers, takes her time a little bit. So I realized that the handout that I gave you is a little small for my eyes. So I'm going to be using my, my tablet so I could make it much bigger. Let me just pull it up real quick. So on this Shabbat, we begin with the last book of the Torah. We begin with the book of Devarim. Oops, is this not working? Is this better? Should I just stand behind the table? Okay. So this Shabbat, we begin the last book of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. In English, we call this book Deuteronomy. Which I think, does that just mean second telling, which is a good explanation of the book. But the name of the book in Hebrew is one that I much prefer. In Hebrew, we call the book Devarim. And I love that it's called Devarim because the word itself, Devar, means all sorts of things. The most simple translation that we see in this text, if you look at your handout, the book of Deuteronomy begins, Elah HaDevarim. We get the name of the book from the first important word in the book. Elah HaDevarim Asher Diber Moshe El Kol Yisrael Be'ever HaYaden. These are the Devarim that Moses said to all Israel on the other side of the Jordan. Now, in the most simple translation for Devarim in this context, we would use the word but I'll try to control myself and stay behind the table. Is this better? Okay. So the most simple translation is simply words. These are the words that Moses told the people of Israel. But the word Devarim could be translated a number of different ways. It could be translated as, these are the matters that Moses retold to Israel on the side of the other Jordan. These are the actions, these are the things, or these are the deeds. Why do you think there are so many different understandings of what we would simply call words? How does it change our understanding of the word, or the word devar, if it could be either a word or a thing? I know I have some attorneys here. Brian, I was hoping you'd go on this one. Right, we see from the very beginning of Genesis, chapter 1, on day 1, that words have consequences. And that's really what it is. When God says, let there be light, the consequence is there is light. I'm not sure you could think of any other words that perhaps have created things, have you? And can you give me an example of some words in history that may have caused something to be made? Speaking to you as an attorney whose specialty is the Constitution. Constitution, and even before that, the Declaration of Independence. When I was in England this summer, we had a tour guide who didn't know that much about American history, and I think the tour must have been on the 4th of July, and he said, this is the day that, he made some reference that the 4th of July marked a great battle, which was a reasonable thought. They don't really learn about the American Revolution the way we do, or I think they call it something else. I don't know, the great annoyance, what do they call it? Has your husband referenced what they call it? Yeah. Oh, the day of the I like that. But we mark the birth of our history not at the Boston Tea Party. We mark the birth of our history when we declared with words that our country existed. Words have power. They can create just about anything. So let's look at some interpretations of Devarim, of the importance of these words. Blair, since the mics, oh, did you get me a new one?
I think I got it working.
Let's see. Go for it. So Blair, can you read the first teaching by Rabbi Bernard Bloom?
It's true that much of Judaism seems to consist. I have my own special effects.
Yes.
How about if I use all of them? Yes. Yes. It's true. There you go. It's true that much of Judaism seems to consist primarily of words. Our synagogue worship, our sacred writings, the Passover Seder. But we are in serious error if we understand Devarim simply as spoken or written words. Talk is cheap. It's easy to make the mistake of equating the declaration of words, whether in the Shema or in our American Pledge of Allegiance, as the fulfillment of our duty as Jews or as American citizens. Talking the talk is futile if we do not then proceed to walk the walk. Yes, the basic Hebrew meaning of davar, the singular of devarim, is word, but it can also be translated as action, task, deed, matter, or thing. If we do not implement our religious words concretely, tangibly, substantially, then they are only empty air. In Exodus 34:28, the 10 Commandments are called Aseret HaDvarim, literally the 10 words. But functionally, they are the 10 tasks. Honoring parents, observing Shabbat, and abstaining from theft, murder, and adultery are more than mere concepts for us to discuss. Rather, they are specific actions that we are instructed to do or to avoid doing.
And we're going to skip the last paragraph there. So any thoughts or reflections, agreement or disagreement with Rabbi Bernard Bloom's teaching on this? Can you think of any parallels in our life as Americans? Yeah, Lynn. Oh, let me come over to you.
I think there are a lot of parallels, especially in social justice, especially with homeless, poor, racial justice. We could say we're against it, but I think if we're not compelled to repair those wrongs, that we might as well not say it.
Right, so words are basically just air if it's not connected to deeds. But also think of the impact that words can have. How can words change society? Do you guys remember when Obama finally came out for marriage equality? And it felt like instantly overnight, the numbers changed in terms of those who were supportive and those who are not. That him simply stating his support started to change minds, started to change emotions, and started to change the tide for us to make real changes. That sometimes words can inspire people to engage in action, to change behavior. Words can also be destructive. Words can also take away and tear down and not just build up. Let's look at the next teaching by Rabbi Paul Citron. Devarim, or words, are our share of the divine power to create or to devastate. With words, we shape reality, construct meaning, and frame hope. Heschel, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, reminds us we shall never be able to understand that the Spirit is revealed in the form of words unless we discover the vital truth that speech has power, that words are commitments. Any thoughts or reflections, agreement or disagreement with Rabbi Citron? Blair, and you're just be loud.
I just wanted to comment on the fact that this
Right. Well, do you know what abracadabra means? So abracadabra is actually Aramaic, a sister language to Hebrew, and abracadabra means I will create as I speak. So there is absolutely this notion, right? Right. With social media, oftentimes we're slow to realize how impactful words can be. So let's skip number 4 and go to number 5. This is not a Jewish text, but it is one that affects the lives of every one of us in this room. Dorothy, I'm going to have you read number 5. There we go.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of press, or of the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. First Amendment to our Constitution.
So I'm going to leave the mic with you for a second, Brian. What do all of the different parts of the First Amendment have in common? What are they protecting?
Well, they're expression. I mean, the various forms of expression. Religion is one form of expression, and speech is another form of expression.
Right, and I would actually say religion is also a form of speech oftentimes
Yes,
as well.
yeah, well,
Public and in the private sphere.
Yeah.
And
So,
they're also,
Another lawyer.
they are also expressions of what the government may not do. Most of the Constitution, the first part of the Constitution was the government shall do this and the legislature shall do that. And the Bill of Rights says government may not intrude upon these things because these are personal to the citizens and the government can't take them away.
so, yeah, Dorothy?
I hate to be contrary, but isn't there a saying that sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me?
That is not a Jewish expression.
It's not accurate either.
Yeah, I'll agree with Brian that I would say that's absolutely not true. That way, the further away we get from childhood, the more we realize that those are the things that stay with us forever.
Doesn't it all wrap back around to your initial statements that we have to take action? We can speak easily, but unless we're prepared to put more behind our words, they may have no effect. So even the examples you gave, the Declaration of Independence did not give us independence. It was the war that followed that put action behind our declaration. So the two don't stand alone. You need words and the commitment to act upon your words. And every one of the examples you gave, including even the Constitution, doesn't give people rights. It gives them a basis for rights that others can act upon, which is why we have to be vigilant to enforce our words sometime.
So absolutely, and I love the way you put that, because I think it goes in both directions. If you have action without words or a sense of vision and understanding, then it's really chaos. And that the two really need to go hand in hand. So
Well stated.
let's look at this in light of just the last 10 days. Did I hear an oh my God? Yeah, oh my God is right. So if you flip the page over, I was really struck as I was looking at Parshat Devarim how much words have mattered in these last 10 days. And I want to look at a few things in particular. And I want you to think of, as we talk about this, really think back about what Rabbi Bernard Bloom and Rabbi Citrin were teaching in terms of the importance of words. So for the last week or so, CPAC, which anyone know what CPAC stands for? Thank you. So the Conservative Political Action Committee has been meeting in Florida, and there's been several notable speeches that have been given. One at the beginning of it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, bless you, the Congresswoman from Georgia who believes that Jews have secret space lasers, and for whom my 10th graders are still very upset because they have not received their secret space lasers yet, spoke this week, and I'm going to read some of her quotes in the third paragraph. Actually, I'll go with the second paragraph. The Congresswoman appeared at the Turning Point was before CPAC, USA Student Action Summit this weekend in Tampa, Florida. Among the many things she discussed while on stage, she discussed the label of Christian nationalist that critics have often given her. She argued that being a Christian nationalist is a positive thing and urged the young conservatives in attendance to more prominently mix Christianity with politics. That's not a bad word, Greene said. That's actually a good thing. There's nothing wrong with leading with your faith. If we do not live our lives and vote like we are nationalists, caring about our country and putting our country first and wanting that to be the focus of our federal government, if we do not lead that way, then we will not be able to fix it. She was also quoted saying, "We need to be the party of nationalism. I'm a Christian, and I say it proudly. We should be Christian nationalists." The problem with Christian nationalism is part of it, the foundation of its belief, is that this country is not a country of majority Christians, but this country is a country based on Christianity, period. It's a total refutation of the First Amendment and a belief that the government does not have the right to impose religion or to impose particular beliefs on the general population. She said this not too long after her good friend, Representative Bobart. I love this quote. "I'm tired of the separation of church and state junk." These are two members of Congress who do truly believe that this country is for and only for, not just only for Christians, but you have to remember they also perhaps define Christianity more narrowly than most Christians do. They would not necessarily consider Catholicism to be Christianity, Mormonism to be Christianity. They're really talking about, or necessarily African Americans who are Christian to have the same rights as Christians. They're talking about what is usually referred to as white Christian nationalism. So let's look at that in light of CPAC meeting this week. And they're bringing in Viktor Orban. Who can kind of sum up who Viktor Orban is and his highlights of his speeches? Brian, are you able to do that?
I don't think there are any highlights. Viktor Orban is the autocratic ruler of Hungary, took the democratic state in autocracy, and he brought it over to the United States
And what are some of his more nefarious beliefs? And against LGBTQ plus rights. Right. And so he came and spoke. Now we could say, these are just words. These are just speeches that are being given. But are they just speeches? Are they just words? Or do they have more power than that? This is not a rhetorical question.
I think they have enormous power, especially when I think a lot of it is grounded in hatred of the Jews and hatred of all other minorities, and I think people believe it. And I think that when members of our government go and participate as well, it's almost an endorsement of it. And I think that particularly because of the fact that we live in two worlds and where we get our information, then that becomes sort of an echo chamber, and it really has enormous impact. And I think that Nazism began a lot with words. There was action as well in the beginning, but with speeches.
Absolutely. Any other, yeah.
Viktor Orban is a reminder to me of why I'm glad my people got out alive.
Right, your family was from Hungary, if I can
My
recall.
mother's family.
Your mother's family was from Hungary. Yeah.
If I may continue the Landsberg dominance of the conversation briefly. It also struck me when you were talking about Christian nationalism that a lot of this rhetoric is similar to things that some Israeli politicians have said recently. I mean, the vision of the Jewish state and that ideology is certainly different than this, but we do have people who are trying to define Judaism ever more narrowly and tie the Israeli state ever more tightly to that vision of Judaism. So yeah, it's a widespread problem.
It is a widespread problem. Whenever nationalism is mixed with religion, it becomes a very dangerous combination. Israel is a slightly weird situation in that Judaism is both a religion and an ethnicity. And I think that when we saw that the religion became more and more part of the government, more and more part of the politics, then we started to see a dangerous shift in a lot of politics and a lot of policies. And you're absolutely right. Jerry, right? Jay, sorry. So let's look at that back at what Jay had said before. The Constitution is just words unless it's backed up by action. The Declaration of Independence are lovely words, but not unless people are willing to fight for it. So what does this mean for who we are now when we hear these speeches and we hear these words?
Well, I think we're also seeing in the last few months, and specifically this last week, that in our legal system and our oversight system, we are struggling with the effect of words and how words turn into actions, both at a national political level and with the Alex Jones trial. It's like, this is how words affect people. This is, you know, and that's really what this trial and the January 6th hearings are all about, is what do words do?
Right, and I think we saw two victories on that account this week. First, we saw with Alex Jones that he was held accountable for his lies, his very, as he was caught red-handed with Texit. He needs a new attorney. I mean, I don't want him to get a new attorney. I think his attorney is doing just fine. But when his attorney turned over all of the texts, yeah, we saw that he was knowingly spreading lies. And my apologies, because this is way too small to read, but the other victory I also put on the bottom, which is what happened on Tuesday. Anyone remember what happened on Tuesday? Any state have a little election? So it was another situation where we saw people, this time deliberately trying to make words obscure in order to try to confuse people into voting for policy that was other than what they meant. And what that has to do with is the proposed amendment on abortion in Kansas that was voted on Tuesday. There was a huge amount of confusion because people couldn't understand, and the language that came out was very deliberately written in a confusing way, where the ballot said, a yes vote would affirm that there is no constitutional right to abortion, which confused people because the Kansas Constitution does affirm that there is a right to abortion. Sorry, it's hard to even explain it. And one of the things that we learned from reading the Torah is that it's important to be very clear and concise and precise with our words. So for instance, Tula, do you know anyone reading Torah tomorrow? You'll be reading Torah. And do you know what Cantor Julie will be doing while you're reading Torah? Will she be following along word by word? So she'll be doing what in any synagogue, any place, when we read Torah, we do. We have another person who's basically a fact checker. They're reading along with the text to make sure that what we're saying is what is actually written. Because our ancestors understood if you just drop a word or twist it or change it a little bit or maybe change the vowels a little bit, you change the meaning entirely. And you could change something like do not murder to murder by simply dropping one word. And so as Jews we're taught, pay attention to words. When someone is speaking to you, when somebody is writing, when the government is creating laws, every word matters. Because even the smallest change can be the difference between freedom and safety or none at all. So I pray as we go forward, well, I pray that we don't get any more speeches like Viktor Orban's in our country, but when we hear people speak words of hate or discrimination, words that are meant to terrorize or diminish, that we counter that, not just with words, but also with action. And I hope that and pray that we will always have the courage to do so.
Yasher koach.
Shabbat Shalom. Missing something.
I heard a good word this week that was very powerful.
What was that?
The word was yes, and it came from Joe Manchin.
Oh, yes, that was exciting. That was on fossil fuels, wasn't it?
It was a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that can be very exciting indeed. Now it's my pleasure to call up Margaret Gladstein to represent our Board of Trustees for some Shabbat greetings and announcements.
Thank you for those words, Rabbi. Those were very meaningful and powerful and give us all a lot to think about. On a, not a lighter note, but a different note, I would say make a few announcements for the congregation. There's an oneg following services tonight, hosted by the B'nai Mitzvah class in honor of the Bat Mitzvah to Lilawoi, and Mazel Tov to you and your family. Tomorrow, there's 9:30 a.m. Torah study on Zoom with Stephen Tincher. At 10:30 a.m., their Mini Minyan returns with Rabbi Stacy Peterson. Mini Minyan is a free class at CBI for families with children 1 to 5 years old to gather, learn, and celebrate, and please RSVP if you haven't done so yet. At 10:30 a.m., there's Shabbat morning service where we'll be celebrating the Bat Mitzvah, and congregation is invited to join via Zoom. Some general announcements. This Tuesday, August 9th, the Women of B'nai Israel's Jonas Goldman Judaica gift shop will be open for summer shopping from 2 to 5 p.m. The shop is featuring a new assortment of talitot in a variety of gorgeous colors, in a variety of gorgeous colors and fabrics, and wonderful selections of Judaica to meet your personal needs and gifts. Congregation B'nai Israel is planning a cleanup on the American River Parkway on Thursday, August 11th at 9 a.m. Please RSVP to Paula and Todd Mendel if you'd like to help. And CBI's adult B'nai Mitzvah class is back. If you're a CBI member and you did not become a B'nai Mitzvah in your youth for whatever reason, this journey is for you. The program begins on Thursday, September 8th, and registration is open until August 31st. Please visit the CBI website and the Hadashot for all the latest details, program registration, and contact information. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm particularly excited about this upcoming adult B'nai Mitzvah class because Glenn is signing up to be in it. And I so look forward to talking with Cantor Steinberg about her students. For those of you who don't know, Glenn is my husband. So I find this very amusing to see if he's going to turn to me for tutoring help or not. We continue with our service with the Aleinu, and it's my pleasure to invite up once again all of our students to come join us on the Bima as we continue with the Aleinu on the bottom half of page 586. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומי. אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בהורתו. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated.
Thank you, guys. Our thoughts now turn towards loved ones who are no longer with us. And I am not sure if Renee Magram's children and grandchildren are joining us via live stream tonight, but if Karen and Ken and Jeff and John and Lisa and Melissa and all of the grandkids, if you're joining us tonight, it is with great sadness that we offer you our condolences on the passing of your very beloved mother and grandmother, Renee Magram, who was truly a woman of valor, truly an Eshet Chayil, who was a loving and hardworking woman who gave everything she had to her family. Zichrona Livracha. It is also with great sadness that we recall the recent passing of Neil Mayer, the beloved brother of Bonnie Penix. Also with great sadness, we recall the recent passing of Ralph Lubick, longtime and beloved member of our congregation and very beloved husband of Laura Choate. And also with great sadness, we recall the recent passing of Joseph Miguel, the very beloved grandfather of Benjamin Stewart. Zichronam Livracha, may all of their memories forever be a blessing. We also recall loved ones who have passed away at this time in years past. We remember Adeline Akana Williams, Beatrice Bear, Seymour Beck, Ellen Berkovich, Lazarus Bloomberg, Linda Brubaker, Edith Dubb, Franklin Dudley, Irving Dwash, Myrna Ferguson, Seymour Friedman, Francis Fugit, Norma Garson, Violet Goldwagon, Lillian Gold, Mary Shields Gordon, Heidi Greenstein, Sydney Gross, Abe Gus, Rosie Hyman, Elaine Cantor, Jay Kaufman, Bernard Kirschbrown, Stanley Cronick, Emily Landy, Harold Lappin, Albert Martin, Ann Nussbaum, Leon Pallas, Herman Reamer, Lena Rudin, Jack Schwab, Emmanuel Schwab, Virginia Shannon, Randy Shepard, Joan Sibner, Lee Small, Celia Sosnick, Myron Wachholder, Francis Waskler, Fanny Weedman, Sandra Weston, and Norman Winbrandt. If there are any names that anyone would like to add to the Kaddish list, please feel free to call those names aloud as my gaze meets yours. And if you're joining us on the live stream, please feel free to write the names of your loved ones in the chat. Are there any names? If you were saying Kaddish for a particular person tonight, I'd like to invite you to please rise. And if the congregation can please join me in the words of comfort, which can be found in the bottom of your handout. Hamakom yenechem etchem betok sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yushalayim. May God comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We rise to offer comfort to those who mourn, as we continue together with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye chon uv'yom echon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'yamru, amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam umei amaya, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitraman, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudshah, b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen.
Amen.
May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us say, amen. Please be seated. Michael, I'm assuming you have just the right words for us to conclude the service with.
I hope so. So I've been singing secular songs to close the service now for almost 3 years. And I sing these songs, I pick these songs because I think they have a lot of spiritual power to them. And one of the things that's totally in line with Rabbi's comments in her drash is that if sometimes if you think about words differently, they change for you, and you'll never really be able to completely think of them the same way again. So if you think of this song that I'm about to sing, and you can sing it with me if you know it, don't think of it as a love song between two people as much as it is a love song between you and the divine, whatever gives you that sense of the sacred in your life. Smile, an everlasting smile. A smile can bring you near to me. Don't ever let me find you gone, 'cause that would bring a tear to me. This world has lost its glory. Let's start a brand new story now, my love. Right now, there'll be no other time, and I can show you how, my love. Talk in everlasting words and dedicate them all to me, and I will give you all my life. I'm here if you should call to me. You think that I don't even mean a single word I say. It's only words. Words are all I have to take your heart away. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away.
As always, beautiful. So for those of you at home, I'm sorry that you're not able to join us for the wonderful oneg that we're about to have. But for those of us here, Mike, do you want to grab the cup? We'll conclude our service with a Kiddush and the Mozi so that when we go out into the courtyard, you could eat right away. So please join us. In the Kiddush, the words can be found on page 123 in your prayer book. And you have to wait till the end of the prayer before you find out if this is wine or grape juice. Here you go. Michael, if you would lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lemase v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher letzion Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim ul shalom urachamim.
But I like that moment of fear right before, because if it's wine, it's going to be Manischewitz. And that's, yeah. So, you ready?
Whoosh! Ooh-ah.
So, this is a stunt challah. We will not be eating this challah because my hands are touching it, but there will be fresh, much fresher than that challah, sliced up and awaiting us at the oneg. In the age of COVID, we have now to do everything a little bit different. So you guys could actually touch it because we're not eating it.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
B'tei Avon.
B'tei Avon. Shabbat shalom.
Please join us in the courtyard.